Swing states like Ohio pose something of a problem for Mitt Romney, and I don't just mean the comparatively small number who turned out to hear him speak today. No, the economic resurgence in the Buckeye State over the last few years doesn't quite fit the false characterization of the president that Romney's been selling. Unemployment there is down almost 3 full percentage points in the last 2 years. That's due in part to the return of manufacturing jobs, which are up more than 42,000 since their November 2009 low. But Romney isn't one to let facts get in the way of a good narrative.
The president said that if we let him borrow $787 billion for a stimulus, he'd keep unemployment below 8%.
No, sorry, Mitt, never happened. Not once has the president ever said that to anybody, anywhere, on any occasion. But that wasn't Mitt's only lie on this day.
44 different trade agreements being negotiated by China and European nations with other nations around the world. Guess how many trade agreements our president's negotiated? None.
Funny that. What's this? It's the president in October signing a trade agreement with South Korea, Colombia and Panama. Admittedly, his negotiations, as always, were with Congress over this treaty, much as they will be once the negotiations over a Trans-Pacific partnership being called bigger than NAFTA are finished. Indeed, these tall tales seem to be getting to Mitt's head because he's starting to talk as if he thinks he's Paul Bunyan.
I can guarantee you, if I'm president on day one, we're going to get the approval from that pipeline from Canada, and if I have to build it myself to get it here, I'll get that oil into America.
Back with us are David Corn, Clarence Page and Crystal Ball. David, to paraphrase Groucho Marx, how does Romney convince Ohio voters to trust him and not their lying eyes?
To look at the other guy over there.
Right, that's how you do it.
That's how you do it. Don't evaluate me. Listen, even in Ohio, where things are doing better than nationally, and they've done, had not a complete turnaround, but they're going in the right direction, there are people who are out of work and they want things to be better. Things can always be better economically. So Mitt Romney will prey upon that and say they would have been better. They would have been a lot better had I been president 4 years ago and let Detroit go bankrupt or whatever he might have done.
Okay.
I mean, he just will say that over and over again. And that's a point that you can't prove or disprove. And it's, again, getting people worked up about things not being better than they are.
Crystal, I normally have attributed the highest ethical standards to Mormons, but this man in this speech is beginning to sound like a pathological liar. He just seems incapable of telling the truth.
Well, and it goes far beyond this speech. I mean, you'll recall he said repeatedly that the president went around the world apologizing for America and he made the recession worse. I mean, all of these things that have repeatedly been stated and repeatedly been shot down as false. But he seemingly just doesn't care. And in fact, this is part of a broader problem on the right. They have had a concerted effort to make voters and Americans mistrust the media, mistrust independent institutions, and they have on the other side created their own set of institutions to validate, their version of reality. The Heritage Foundation, Fox News, U.S. Chamber of Commerce are all set up so that they can provide the facts that they can base these lies on. I mean, and that's why, again, I go back to the president saying in his speech, that's not my spin. These are the facts. The Republicans have done everything they can to make people mistrustful of what exactly are the facts.
And therefore the public are confused and the voter doesn't know who to trust. Clarence, it would be nice if we could ask questions about his bogus facts or policy-free agenda, but here's a clip of what happens when you try to ask Mitt Romney a question. Watch this, Clarence.
The governor is going to remain here while we say goodbye to our friends from the press. Goodbye.
How long can Romney keep up the Howard Hughes act with the press?
He can keep it up quite a while, remarkably. This is beyond simple lying or fabrication. This is an alternative reality. And it's the kind of reality that you get if you watch, without mentioning any names, a certain news channel that is not MSNBC. There's all these pseudo-facts you heard from Governor Romney. There are people on certain media who are spreading these pseudo-facts, and they back up a certain narrative that's quite the opposite opposite of reality, but it's one that bolsters the idea of we got to get that guy out of the White House and get our guy in. And that's really what's happening here. And I'll be very interested to see how far this goes on. I think after Labor Day, when everybody really gets engaged in the campaign, we may see some grappling with reality. I can hardly wait.
David, well, in a shock announcement, shock horror, Mitt Romney is going to sit down with Bob Schieffer Sunday for an interview. Should Schieffer ask Romney about his reluctance to interact with the press, or should he first ask Romney about his problems with the truth? I mean, I guess it's only a half-hour show, so he's limited amount of time.
It has expanded to an hour in some markets. So I'll be happy to send Bob a long list of questions for Mitt Romney, because I mean, literally, he says things in great sites like PolitiFact.com and Glenn Kessler, the fact checker at Washington Post, point out again and again, as Crystal just said, Obama didn't go around the world apologizing. You never made that 8% unemployment promise that you referenced earlier. But yet none of that seems to take any hold or doesn't pervade the slightest bit into the Mitt Romney reality. And yet, I was talking to David Axelrod not too long ago, and he says that the battle for this election is really on independent voters, and he calls some of them not high information voters, meaning they don't absorb a lot, they don't participate a lot in watching cable TV, reading newspapers, and so you got to figure out how to reach them. If people don't really follow this stuff well, then they may not know Mitt Romney's not telling the truth, and this stuff may seem right, sound good to them, and that's where the danger is.
Well, and the thing that I'm fearful of, we talk about the money that's going to be involved and the mass amount of advertising. It's not the money that scares me so much. It's their willingness to put that money behind any lie that they want to put on the TV of every American.
Absolutely. Crystal Ball, David Corn, Clarence Page, brilliant, all of you. Thank you so much.